And I do apologize if anyone has had problems in the past getting on. These things with Zoom are not.
They don't Zoom sometimes.
They don't Zoom sometimes. But anyway, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Kerriann Flanagan Brosky, and this is my partner, Joe Giaquinto. And Happy New Year. And this is our first New Year for the month of January, and we're doing another one next week on Sweet Hollow Road, which everyone loves to talk about that. So we decided to do one specifically on the things that we have learned about Sweet Hollow Road, mainly legends and myths. But tonight we're going to talk about spirit photography. So before we get started with that, many of you know who we are, but in case you're new to the webinar tonight, I would like to tell you a little bit about ourselves. So as for me, I'm an author. I'm also a photographer. My degree is actually in photography. And I've written 8 books, most of them, almost all of them nonfiction, but I have co-authored an Italian cookbook. And I also wrote one novel called The Metal. But I am best known for my Ghosts of Long Island books and Historic Haunts of Long Island, where I combine local history with ghost stories. And I always say, what better way to learn about local history than through a ghost story? And the books have become quite popular. I'm currently working on my 9th book, Haunted Long Island Mysteries, and I actually have to hand it over to my publisher in 2 weeks from now. So I'm working on a book deadline as well. So, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this book. I just pray that this time next year we will be up and running again, and that we can do in-person events, because Joe and I do tour every fall. We have an extensive book tour for the books. And, we look forward to seeing you all again. As much as I enjoy doing the webinars, it's hard not seeing you guys. I like to look out onto the audience. So I'll hand it over to Joe. He can introduce himself a moment. Joe.
Hi there. Thanks, Kerriann. Welcome, everybody. I'm Joe Giaquinto, a paranormal investigator, psychic medium, psychic medium. Sorry. We have fun with this. Basically, I got out of school and I moved upstate to a haunted house. And after that experience, that kind of Amityville horror, I was interested in ghosts. So I started doing ghost investigations in the 1980s. And then moved out to the West Coast and opened up my computer business, and then came back and was lucky enough to meet Kerriann here you were doing a Halloween event at the Conklin Barn in Huntington. And you were thinking about writing a book on ghosts, historic
That's
ghost
right.
stories. And I just happened to walk in, Joe G, Ghostbuster. And we worked well since then. It's been
That's correct.
And I can't believe it's been, 15 years, 16 years? Oh my God.
I know, it has been a long time, and we've had a lot of fun. I can't wait for you guys to read the next book, because we have some really amazing
you're
stories
gonna
in that
love this.
one.
You cannot believe this stuff. I mean,
Right.
The ghost box, forget it. It's like going to Starbucks, having a cup of coffee with your neighbors. The only difference is they're all on the other side.
Exactly. I know there's so many things we want to tell you about that now, but we have to keep it under wraps.
We do.
So like I said, tonight we're going to talk to you about spirit photography. Now, in the fall, we did do a webinar about orbs and apparitions, which are a type of spirit photography. But I had asked Joe to do this one in particular, so it's more heavy on what Joe does, because Joe is also an artist, and he has actually made these beautiful paintings and things with using different items, different objects, I should say, that come through. So he's going to really talk about a lot of this tonight. But we want to give you a little bit of a background. So it will be different from that other, we will touch on orbs and apparitions, but it will be different from that other webinar that we had done. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about a man by the name of William H. Mumler. He lived during the 1800s, and during the 1800s, I should go back for a minute, with the onset of the Fox sisters and the birth of spiritualism. There were some people that knew what they were doing when it came to mediumship and photographing and things like that, and a lot of people didn't. And people actually went on the bandwagon with these, these topics, and there were a lot of fraudulent photographs out there. during that time. But William Mumler, okay, he was really well known for this. He was an American spirit photographer, and he worked in New York and Boston. One day he discovered a person in the photograph he took of himself that was created. It was like an accidental double exposure of the film. But realizing, again, because this is the 1800s, that there was a market for this type of thing, he actually said that it wasn't a double exposure, that it was in fact an apparition formed in his picture. He started advertising himself as a medium, and he would take pictures of people and then doctor it up. And I think he even sold them. He then advertised this, and he became more well known for these spirit images. And he even claimed that one of the most famous images was of Mary Todd Lincoln with the ghost of her husband, Abraham Lincoln. And you could look this up. There's images, I believe, of that picture. But eventually the fraud was, oh, you have it here. Okay, this is great. So this is what he would do and put it out, and this became a very famous picture. It's very unfortunate, though. Yeah, this is what I like with the hands on it.
Yeah, this is the that's supposed to be Abraham Lincoln there in the background. And
okay.
It's funny because I actually made a fake photo yesterday. You didn't know about this. I wanted to show how easy it was to use to Photoshop something. And unfortunately, the spirits took that photo back, because this morning when I got up and I went to open the photo and see my beautiful work I was going to show tonight, this came up, which was another spirit photo from Mumler. It was like they completely erased the other photo. Whether I copied it and overwrote it or what, it was the weirdest thing, because when I go to the link in Photoshop to open, this photo opens. My other photo is nowhere in my system, not even on my backup last night. So isn't that weird?
So they didn't want you showing any more fake photos, Joe. So
no,
that's why.
That's exactly right.
But when we do this work, we're never trying to prove or disprove, and we're not even looking for, to prove anything. But we just want to share our own experiences and the things that we have gotten, and we leave it up to our readers, the viewers, whether or not they believe that the picture is real. The main things that we get, as we mentioned, and we'll go over that a little bit later, are the orbs and apparitions. But you have to be able to distinguish real from not. Even with the book that we're working on now, right, Joe? There's one or two photos that we had questions about, and if we should put them in the book or not. And some of them are matrixing, which we're going to go over in a little while. But for now, I want to turn it over to Joe, because he is going to expand a little bit more on this as far as the science of it. Is it fake? So he's going to expand a little bit more, because again, this is more his area of expertise. Yeah.
So, today with the, hang on, let me just change my window here. Today with the technology, when we talk about the science of spirit photography, are we talking about the science of, or the fakery of it, the fraudulentness, if that's a word, of doing spirit photography? And so, a great example of that is go online, go on Google or go on YouTube, look up flying saucers. All right. Now, I have had some experiences with UFOs. And we're not talking about that tonight, but you see people take pictures, they throw pie plates in the sky and they take pictures, hubcaps. It's obvious. It's so easy to fake something with the technology. And what's happened is, as Kerriann said, back in the 1800s, this was very new. And so cabinet photos were being created. Photography with the whole thing was very new to people. So when people saw pictures, they didn't even question that anyone could even fake it. Today, it's so easy to Photoshop something. You see this all the time. And artists even do this. They do mixed media, they do digital photos. So the question is, I guess, a few things. Number one, if you're going to look at photography from the other side, three things I would look at. First thing is, what's the credibility of the person? And I'm not tooting our own horn here. I'm just saying, what is the credibility of the person? Have they done this work before? Do they have any scientific evidence? Is this just something you're throwing up on YouTube or, Shutterfly just to get some likes and, favorite bookmarks? That's one thing. The other thing is, what is the atmospheric situation around the photo? In other words, are the conditions right for the photo to be created? Because if you don't have the conditions to create the spirit photo, and we'll get into that a little bit, then you don't really have a photo, anything that would be artificially created. So in other words, if I'm going to see an orb, I have to have light, I have to have shadow, I have to have contrast. I've got to have a situation where it's dark enough, and I need to create a situation where I can see the orb, for example, an orb, and we'll talk about orbs, that it's transparent. You can see the trees and branches behind it. So if it's floating in the backyard of your house, it is really a light anomaly. It's not just a piece of dust particle. And Kerriann's a professional photographer, and she knows what the difference between dust particles, which are opaque, which don't show through, and light anomalies like orbs that are transparent. So that's his second thing. Third thing is, can you accept the premise that spirits may not be able to create something completely out of nothing? It takes a lot of energy and have to be close to the physical plane. So can you accept the premise that the spirits might use background objects, shapes, colors, shadows to create something so that we see something that looks like a spirit, a ghost, some sort of a message, but it might actually be something hanging on the wall in somebody's house. So that's a private thing.
Right. A little hint
a little teaser for our future book.
For the new book.
Yes,
exactly.
But that is, you have to be willing to accept that not everything is perfect in the spirit world. It's very subjective and it's not often easily provable.
Now, Joe, a question for you. So
Yes.
if people then are going to look at these photos and say, well, it was something on the wall, let's say,
That's right.
what would be the benefit of a spirit using something like that to create that image of themselves, to use an object that already exists rather than just showing themselves?
That's a great question. Well, if you guys are familiar with EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, ghost voices, you know that the typical one that you see on these ghost shows, these TV shows, are the white noise type. And they call it white noise because white noise is actually a very simple background noise of any room or outside location. So the spirits modulate on the white noise of the ambient noise of the room, and then they leave their voice on it with some energy. So, anyway, in answer to your question, for them to create an apparition out of thin air takes a lot of energy. And if it's a bright blue sunny sky and day, you can't see it. So if you have a tree in the background and you have some shining light coming down from the sun through the trees, it can create a situation where the tree can become part of an image. And again, not to say, do a little tease here, but we do have a photo where something that was connected to a tree, literally connected, became an apparition, but it was formed from the tree, from the background, the leaves, the trees, and they were able to show us something that we call.
And when we get these images, we will state what type of photograph it is. I mean, if you've seen the webinar that we've done on orbs and apparitions, you may have seen, I don't know if you're including it here tonight, Joe, the apparition that I took of the little girl at Catch 'em In.
I did.
That was a very clear apparition, okay? A full, just, apparition, not any kind of matrixing. But then we also have a photo, I guess an example of that, Joe, would be at the Quaker Cemetery in Bethpage, where that Civil War soldier had appeared, which I think we showed in the past webinar.
And we have that tonight.
And that would be an example. So when we get to, to the photographs, you'll see the difference with that.
Yeah, and this whole thing is part of a bigger thing. It's actually a science. It's called ITC, or intertrans communication. Let's get that right. instrumental transcommunication. I say that 3 times fast. And basically, as Tom and Lisa Butler say of the American Association of EVPs, basically Tom says it's how spirits monkey around with electronic devices to give us a message, to write a post-it note virtually. Right. So that's some of the things to consider now.
But then it's the energy too. It's also spiritual energy that can create this type of phenomenon. And as you said, I like the comparison to the EVPs because they use, these devices, the recorders, and the same thing, they'll use the energy from the camera. And since, they are spiritual beings, they're able to use this energy to make these forms.
That's right. That's right.
Or imprints, right?
And imprints, yeah. And we're going to talk about the difference between imprints versus spiritual. Like, is something just embedded in the woodwork, or is it actually a spirit is creating this real time so you can, you can see it. It all has to do with spiritual energy being applied in the photographic process. It doesn't matter whether it's a digital camera or an old film camera, a video recorder, an EVP recording, a tape recorder. Basically, even our eyes can act as, as cameras in a way, and can see something or record something. It's very interesting. I once went to my eye doctor, and I would see these sheets of light waving by the peripheral of my vision, just like slow waving sheets. I know it wasn't any kind of thing like a problem with the eye, because I was there for checkup. And I asked the doctor, I said, "Doctor, what do you see with these sheets that are going by? I see these wavy, these beautiful wispy lights and stuff." And he said that, and the nurse is writing notes down feverishly, thinking, "Oh boy, here come the guys with the white suits to take me to the funny farm," right? He said, actually a lot of patients say they see that. I don't have any explanation for it. It is something actually called entopic phenomena, which is when you're in a low light position, and this is very key to spirit photography. When you're in a low light position situation, like you're in a dark room, some of you may have seen, like you see things swimming on the wall, you see things moving, jumping around, and then they're gone. Because the retina cannot focus on anything particular, there's not enough light. So it makes up stuff. And that's a perfect opportunity for spirits to show you something. I think that's why a lot of times when we go into these houses at night and we're walking around the woods and we're keyed up and we're not really seeing enough luminance from the ambient light, I think we start to see things. I was in an event where we saw an apparition forming in the corner of the room by just looking at that corner, lowering the lights, just having just enough light so the spirit just needed a little bit of energy to create that wispy apparition form. So that's one of the things that you can do with, with the spirits can do with different types of cameras. Now, are they, as you started to ask, are they imprints or are they real time? Okay. Now, I want to make a distinction between spirits and imprints. All right. So we have like the spirit of Annette at Williamson at the country house. Now she's been there for 300 years, roaming around. One of her favorite light anomalies is to flash the lights in the room, to make a big white light flash room as if it was like lightning bolt hit the room. And she's been doing that for a long time. And she does it on cue. She does it for people she likes. We've seen it. You saw it in your house, right?
Right. And then we discussed that on our last webinar.
On the last, right.
I think we showed video of that.
That's right. And so the thing is that that's a spiritual event. An imprint is more a ghost, like a classic apparitions, where you see something. It doesn't react with you. It's always the same image, like an old film being played. And it just goes, it does this thing and disappears. You trigger it, you see it, you photograph it, and it disappears. So, the difference between, I think one of the things I do with my spirit photography work is that I work with real, actual sentient beings, spirits that are actually communicating with me through mediumship. And that's how I'm getting those images. So we'll get into those samples and how you can tell the difference.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Now, another
yeah.
thing I wanted to mention too, I don't know if we brought this up on past webinars. I know we brought it up on in-person lectures about shadow people. And it's interesting as you were talking, Joe, because shadow people, a lot of people claim to see shadow people, which are out of the peripheral vision. Okay. And you can photograph it. It's another type of photograph. I wish I should have given you a picture from, what was it, Joe? Out in Hampton Bays at the restaurant there.
Oh, Bill Paul.
Bill Paul, yes. And because they actually had captured the image of a shadow person. So again, this is something that is seen actually before it was photographed. And many people have claimed like they see not straight on, it's always out of the peripheral. And they take an image and then there is this black shadow. That's the shape of an actual figure of a human being. So that's another type of phenomenon. For those of you, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, no, since we're talking about different types, I think we should get into some of the details of the difference. Maybe we'll start with orbs first.
Okay.
And you want to talk about that a little bit?
Okay, sure. And again,
I have some photos to go along with your talk.
Okay, great. And some of you may have seen some of this from the past, but it's always good to go over them again. Orbs are fascinating. Regular people have gotten them. As Joe said, you can get them with professional cameras, small cameras. People have gotten them on their phones. Joe has actually captured several in motion while we've been on assignment for the new book on his phone, on his recording on his phone. So they're the most common. And as I had mentioned, my degree is actually in photography, and I specialized in photojournalism. So I was always out in the field and taking images. So I know the difference between a dust particle and an orb. And as Joe had mentioned earlier, an orb is like a light anomaly. They're thought to be spirits from the other side. And just like a person, every orb is completely different. They could be speckled, they could have rings in them. We've gotten images of animals in an orb. So as Joe had mentioned about the energy before, the spirits can manipulate the camera with the energy and form these orbs. And there's tons of books and things written on it. So here's some examples. Joe, this was one from your group, I think, right, at Orient Church?
It was, yes. And that's Caesar, and he really enjoys orb photography. That's one of his favorite things to photograph. So he was trying to get an orb in this church. And the funny thing was, he didn't see the orb, but the spirits, and this again, what I was talking about earlier about intelligent communication, of all the places to put an orb, they put one right in front of his camera.
Yeah, I mean, it's just pointing right at it. And yeah, I've gotten photographs of you, Joe, with orbs on you. I'll be photographing Joe, and then all of a sudden an orb will be on
like
his
one
leg
on my nose. Right?
Yeah, that's well. Right. Like we have to find that. I don't know what happened.
I've still never seen that one.
Yeah, so. Yeah. So we lost that somewhere along the way. So now, this is in Manorville.
Now, this is a very different. This is a very beautiful. This is from Monica Thomas, and she's one of the colleagues in my group. She's a friend of mine, and we are on our way through a blizzard to. We can't say where yet, but you know where. In a place where there are animals, and she got this orb on the North Road. Now you could see the snow is creating these light anomalies, so obviously that's snow. But look at the angelic orb hovering over the road with the angel wings. You could see it. You can see my mouse, Kerriann?
Yes, I can see it.
So it's here. It is right here. Isn't that beautiful? It almost looks like one of those statues you buy that you put on your dresser, like, for just praying or just something religious. And look at this. There are no houses lit up along the road, maybe a light here. But this house at the end where we're heading almost looks like a manger, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's all lit up with like straw down. This is actually the road, and this is a house, but it looks like a little crutch, like they call a crutch. And then the angel is hovering over. So that's a really beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, so here, you want to talk about some of your orbs? I have a few. I have one from New England. I have one from Montauk. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Yeah,
Where's this one
Yeah,
from?
this one is in Montauk. This was when we were doing Ghosts of Long Island, the first book. Although this came after the book was published, because this is something that's an ongoing thing for me. So even if I'm out there, I'll just start photographing and see what I could get. So this didn't appear in the book. I wish it had. But this is a beautiful one. It's so large, and this area is very Indian sensitive. And there are a lot. It's right next door to the Montauk Manor, so it's the Fort Hill Cemetery, and this huge orb just appeared, and you could see all the speckle in that. But if you look at the right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see other orbs that are like going out of the image all the way up at the top.
Right here.
Yeah. There's also another one. If you look really closely, there's a couple more in the darker areas of this image. Actually, one below to the right, probably around like 4 o'clock. You see that, Joe?
Over here somewhere.
No, where the big one is, the big orb. Yeah, to the right a little bit. There's an orb right there. Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
Yep. Very faint. So
Yes.
this is one of my favorite photos.
I love the color too. It's really beautiful. And then this one, Kerriann, when was this taken? Was
this one was taken in Montauk at the beach. Again, this was when I was on vacation.
You were busy out there. You had a lot of spirits out there.
I can't help myself. Even when I'm away, I'm still doing this stuff. I mean, here you see just a vast amount of them. And this was a picture perfect night because I was on the beach having a bonfire with my family, and I had walked away from it. And then I was photographing, and this was one of the images. And then in the next frame, there was nothing. It was just clear, like the clear night that it was. So this was very interesting.
Yeah, that's really,
and you can see that they're different. They're bright, they're big, they're small.
So that's not the moon down there, that blue one. No, that's actually an orb.
No, none of these were the moon. Yeah, because this was facing the dune. The moon was over the water. So
right. Wow,
it definitely wasn't that. And that's why with the work I do, I have to rule out, because I am a professional photographer, I have to make sure that this is legitimate. So here's a picture in Lenox, Massachusetts. Again, I was on vacation. It was not snowing. You see snow on the ground, but there was absolutely no snow coming down from the sky when I took this photograph. And it's a very haunted area. It's a very historic area.
It looks it, yeah.
And you can see the big orb, actually in most of them, you can see the translucency in them. Maybe not so much that really bright one, but if you look at some of the orbs underneath the bright one, you could see through the window. The big one off to the right, you can see the street lamp post. And I was just amazed. And again, I took a couple of shots and there were orbs in it, and then nothing, just a clear night.
That's great. Yeah, that's really great. And then you want to talk a little bit about ectoplasm? I did include a couple of really cool ectoplasm images. Oh,
you have a couple of those? Yeah, yes. Ectoplasm, sometimes you have to distinguish whether it's like an orb in motion, but an ectoplasm really looks like fog rolling in, very wispy. It usually appears very close to the camera, as if it's right in front of you. And Fiorella Dolce, I think, right? It's one of the ones from Historic Haunts of Long Island, had ectoplasm caught on their on their video cameras at night, as well as orbs. This one I took in North Carolina. Again, this was a completely clear night. Completely clear. There was no fog or anything like that. And this is what I got. I got the orbs, and I got this type of, foggy, it looks like it's in motion. And in the next frame, again, there was nothing.
Yeah, and it reminds me, and I probably said this before, but it kind of reminds me of like a nebula, like you see those astronomical photos.
Right, right.
Okay, and here's another one. This is another one of my favorites here. Look at that, it's gorgeous. Looks like the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah, it almost looks like those are little figures in there.
Like something's trying to form, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, sometimes, as you had mentioned, Joe, that things are formed in certain atmospheric conditions. But with this, again, this was a clear night when this photo was taken.
And I was going to talk about this, but you've done a lot on Peter Underwood's 10 Types of Ghosts. You want to just talk about that? Because I have some ghost pictures that you mentioned earlier.
Actually, I think we're going to do that one next month. a whole thing on the 10 types
Right.
of ghosts. So I
Okay.
would rather wait with that,
Sure.
because his, what he talks about doesn't relate as much to the photographs as it does to the different types of ghosts
Different types, yeah.
Yeah.
I do have some ghost photos. You did mention the Kerriann, and that's a really cool example of an apparition. So you want to talk about that a little bit?
With that one, we were in a room, and this is the Kerriann in Centum Riches. The building was being restored, and Joe and I were on the second floor with the president of the organization. And you could see that the room was obviously not finished, and there was no ceiling, but there was almost like a catwalk around the side. So you couldn't really move in there. So I basically stood in one spot and just took photographs. So I took a couple of this window, and this was the only one that had this girl show up. And this is a good example, as I said, of not of matrixing, of an actual apparition. Joe, if you could use because I don't have controls for that, right? You don't see my cursor, do you? No.
No, I don't.
Okay, so you could see that her hair, her face, then you see it's almost like a white shawl there, and you could see she has one hand resting there. You could see her dress. This was a second floor window, by the way. So this was just remarkable when I
that was
able to
really
capture
cool.
that.
Yeah, there's no way somebody could even be standing out there.
Yeah.
Physically. And this is Winfield Hall. This is another great one. Look at that place. Boy, that is scary just to look at that place.
And you
Is
weren't
that still-
here with me. This was in the early days. You
I
weren't.
know.
Something came up. You
God,
weren't
that
with
is
me.
amazing.
But this picture I took, and then when I blew it up, I saw this vision of what I believe is one of the daughters of Woolworth, who died possibly in the house committing suicide. It's still unknown where she actually
And that's amazing.
did this.
You could see her face. You could see she's looking
Yeah.
this way a little
Yeah.
bit, and you could see her dress.
Mhm.
She looked like she's sitting at the window waiting,
Right.
sort of looking.
Yeah.
That's
So
incredible.
that was amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. And then
Mhm.
let me just see what else I have here. All right, and then we were talking about the matrixing, and we're going to talk about that. We were talking about the hang on a second.
We were trying to figure out how to pronounce
Yeah, we're going to get to that one. Yeah. So here we are.
Oh yeah, here's the
Cemetery.
other one. Okay.
This was an
Quaker
early
Cemetery.
one. Actually, this was the year that I
Yes.
met you, Kerriann. This is 2005.
That's right. We just
And-
started working together.
Just started working together. And the audience, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I was pulled over to this little thing over here. First thing I looked at, and I said, wow, here's the spirits making a marker for me to get my attention. You don't see trees bend around like a locket like this, right? That's kind of weird. And then what's this white thing over here? It looks like a beard. So sure enough, zoom in, and there he is. Civil War soldier, framed in this locket, like one of those little mourning lockets that you would get, like, you buy those antiques.
Right.
So he's got a coat, a waistcoat. It's in green, but that's because of the leaves and everything they use. He's holding a hat by his side. He's looking down. You can see the pink of the flesh of his face. And there's some sort of hat here. He's got a gun belt. So you could see his black trousers. You can see two legs. They're a little bit distorted, but again, it is a spirit photo. It's not supposed to be high quality photograph of somebody standing there. So that's kind of cool. And we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about how I do the photography. So,
And then how you got into what we're going to show next, which is the
Yes.
exciting part of Joe's actual artwork of what he does with these images and paintings and what you use. So this is totally Joe's thing here. It's not something that I've attempted. My thing has been, the orbs, apparitions, ectoplasm.
and I do have one more apparition. I just want
Oh,
to
you
show.
do? Okay.
Yeah, we showed that before, but it's kind of a cool one. This one here, that's at Depot Farms.
Oh, I don't remember seeing this
Oh,
one.
you didn't see this one?
No.
this is
Was
the
this
girl
one that
reading a
you
book.
took? This must have been after, because we don't
It-
have this in the book.
No, it was, yeah.
Mhm.
Just this little, it was actually, here's the original photo. She's
Mhm.
actually here. Believe it or not, this is where that image came from.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I kept getting drawn to this, and I kept saying, "This something like looks like something there," because all the other windows you see, they're all dark. See?
Right.
But this has this light shining right out of here, and this is like a little portico. I'm not sure what this is.
I'd like to point that out too. I mean, I know you're going to discuss this more
Yeah,
in
go ahead.
detail, but when we go out on assignment, we actually, we both do it, that we stand there, if it's a house or a building like that, we will take pictures that aren't, a picture that you'd hang on your wall. They're pictures of just a window, an angle of a window and things like that. And when I analyze, and I guess you do the same, Joe, when we look at our images, if you look at the pictures as a whole, they would say, well, what were they thinking about? This is a boring photograph. But we do that because of cases like that. When you zoom in, there are times that you will see figures that have formed in these windows. So we also, mirrors are another one too. So if you want to talk a little bit about, that part of the matrixing or using different objects.
Yes. Well, first of all, let me tell you how I got into this. There was a couple things that happened. The funny story was, all right, I was on eBay, and there was a story of this haunted decanter. And I remember those Carnival glass decanters you had in the 70s, and everything like the disco, and they had, or the 80s, they had the like amber glass, and it was little facets, cut glass. So there was a story that there was this corked bottle with a girl, the ghost girl in it. This is the, you get these stories on eBay, right? And the idea was that she had been trapped by a ghost hunter, and she was trapped in the bottle. So I think of Dream of Jeannie, right? So they said that someone should buy this bottle and release the spirit of the girl, the genie, whatever, into the air to let her go free. Otherwise, she'll be very upset with whoever buys the bottle and doesn't let her out.
So you can find anything on eBay, apparently.
God, I know. And now you can't, probably today, you can't make those claims. But anyway, so I bought it. And it's interesting because I had the bottle, and then I put the bottle in storage down the basement in a box. One day, and there's nobody in the house at my parents', you generally don't go to the storeroom. And all of a sudden I heard a crash. I went downstairs, and all the boxes in storage where the bottle was in that one box had fallen over. And the only thing that rolled out was the bottle, rolled across the floor, and the top was off. So I said, oh no, the spirit has been released. I'm in trouble now. So I took the bottle, I ran upstairs, I put it on my dresser, and I started taking photographs of it. And in the facets, I saw all these little faces of people. And I said, wow, this is really cool. And then I thought, well, you know what? I'm a medium. Spirits come to me to talk when I do readings for people.
Joe, we're starting to lose you a little bit.
Maybe I don't need to go to the cemetery to get a picture of a ghost.
Joe?
I can ask them to come to me and take a picture of the ghost in my room. Am I going to the other side of the veil again?
Yeah,
Yes.
your picture is frozen. Yeah, can you hear me?
Am I back? Okay.
No, your picture's frozen.
I can hear you. I can see you. It is. All right, hold on a second. Let me see what I can do.
We've lost Joe to the other side.
Hold on. Hang in there. Okay. This is Zoom. Let me know when you can hear me.
Oh, we can hear you, but you're just you were frozen. Now you're in slow motion.
Hello. I'm a ghost. Okay. Am I better now?
It's getting there.
Good. Good. Okay. Well, I'll keep talking.
There you go. Right. Now you're back.
Okay. Good. All right. So anyway, see, the spirits are monkeying around right now. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so that was the story. So I took a picture, and I found that if I photographed mirrored objects like window panes, mirrors, glass bottles, things like that, where there was shadow, light, there was reflection, there was beautiful colors coming through, that I would start getting spirit. I would get pictures, faces, text messages coming through. So just see here, I lost my place here, sorry. So there's two things I do. When I started doing the photography, there were two goals I had. The first one is, a lot of people in this science they want the perfect thing. They want the completely disprovable, totally documented thing before they'll say, I've got evidence of a paranormal event. But to me, what's the most important thing is there a message? Is there a message? If I get a spirit photo, it doesn't have to be perfect. What are they trying to tell me? Are they trying to give me a message? Are they trying to say hello? Are they just giving me some artwork from the other side that's really beautiful to share with people? So that's the first thing. The second thing is when I look at the photo, I take it off the camera, I upload it to my computer, because I do use a digital camera. I don't use a phone camera anymore. I try to do the minimal amount of touch up to it so that you can bring out the photo of the spirit. Just like with an EVP, we clean up the noise so you can hear the voice of the spirit better. If I really heavily doctor something, then that becomes more of spirit art. Okay, I don't consider that an unaltered or a raw photo. Okay, so when the skill is trying to get, from a mediumship standpoint, trying to get the message that the spirit's giving me with the photograph, and also trying to improve how we can see it, to isolate the thing that I'm seeing so that people can see it. And I have some examples here I'd like to show you. Okay. By the way, am I back? Am I still there?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, good. All right. You have any questions about that, Kerriann? You want to chime in on anything?
Well, when did you start this? Just a couple of years ago, basically. I mean, and
No,
again, this is different from what we do from an investigative point. Like, so I just want to make that clear. The spirit paintings that Joe does, that type of work, is not something we would put in the book because, as he said, it has been altered to make it more creative and that kind of thing, to a certain extent. Where what we put in the book is the raw photographs for the most part. So, but this, because he is an artist as well, he, as Joe had said, he was able to use these objects to work with the spirits with his mediumship to have these images form. And some of them are so beautiful. And I'm so happy that I actually own one of his paintings that I used to advertise this. And that you could clearly see you had manipulated by adding where the face was. But it's just so beautiful, and seeing the colors, it's almost like abstract art. So you do have some examples.
I do. I'm going to show you. Yes, I have a treat for everybody. I'm going to show some now and talk about them. But then at the end of our event tonight, before we do questions, I have a little video, sort of a slideshow with some music of some of my favorites that I'm going to show for everybody. But okay, so here's this is an interesting story. There's a backstory to these, by the way, which again is the intelligent communication come through. And I am going to talk more about some of the fact that mediumship plays a big part in this, because Bill Collar, who's a very famous medium, been doing mediumship, 45, 50 years, all over the world, works for different governments, different countries. And we asked him in one of his workshops that you and I went to, what do you have to, what do you do to be a good medium, a good psychic, not to be credible, not to be a bogus person? And remember, he always said you need to get like 8 to 10 points of verification that you're actually getting information from the other side, not just say, I see somebody says, who's here from the other side? One of my loved ones. I say, well, I see an old lady with gray hair. It's your grandma. Right. Thank you very much. Pay your $500 at the door. Exactly. That's not what we do.
Right. So, it has to be evidential mediumship where there's specific points.
Exactly. So with the spirit photography, what I wanted to do was and I'm glad you brought that up before, because I wanted to go to the next step. I wanted to use mediumship as a validation, and so to see if I could almost like pay-per-view in a way, like on cable, where you want a movie and you press the button and you dial it in and you get that movie right then when you want it on demand. I wanted to be able to have a theme with the photos so that the spirits, I knew that they were actually giving me something. It wasn't, I'm just seeing like a cloud go by and it looks like Mickey Mouse. You know what I mean? So this was this was my early project photos. I'm an artist, and I was going to enter an art show for the school in Riverhead, East End Arts. And they wanted to design a weather vane for their carriage house. Now, I procrastinated. I was busy. I had stuff going on. I didn't make the show deadline. But I took some spirit photos during this time. And one of them I looked at, and amazingly, I realized the spirits had actually given me a design for the carriage house weather vane that they wanted to put on the roof of the new school. And here it is. This is a little old glass, like a vinegar bottle or something here. And can you see the horse?
Yeah.
Looks like a merry-go-round, like a carousel.
Yeah, that's
horse,
what it looks
right?
like.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
And this is an unedited photo. Pretty, I just lightened it a little bit so you could see it on the PowerPoint. But look at this.
Yeah.
There's a spear that goes through the center with a point here. And look at this, the letter N. And this looks like a W. Points of a compass. It was a weather vane for the carriage house. So they drew me a horse and a weather vane with compass points. Isn't that cool?
And it does look like one of those merry-go-round horses.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and this is, and there are other things in here. There's actually, it looks like a woman standing here. You're seeing her back, and she's looking this way, and she's holding something. I'm not sure, a sword or something. So this is very interesting. There's also letters here, like P and I. I don't know if that's paranormal investigator, but there's a lot, and maybe Joe here, J-O-E or something.
Right.
So that's that. So that's a pretty cool one. Now, my sister, we all have dogs. What's that mean? But, you know, all of us, you have dogs. My sister has dogs. My sister's kids have dogs. We like our furry friends. So my sister had a dog named Teddy. And unfortunately, he passed. Well, one day we were at, I think, Easter or something several years ago, and Teddy decided to jump up on the table and try to grab some food, which we prevented him from doing. But I snapped a picture of him because I saw some blue glow on the plastic covering of the seat behind him. And it turned out it was a little cat.
Oh, look at that.
Here he is right here. See, that's the plastic cover. And this is the picture. So you see a paw print. This is actually a cat paw print. So you can see 1, 2, 3 here, the little indentation here,
Right.
Right.
And you could clearly see the face.
Yeah.
It almost has like a heart over in between, like the eyes.
Yeah, it's a little distorted, but you can see,
Right.
here's the face, here's the eyes, you can see the ears here. There's a tail here, a back feet, and he's standing up. So that's kind of cool. So that was Teddy's friend there. Okay, this one, I wasn't going to show this one, but I'll show it. We always talk about doctoring up photos. Okay, this is, I guess, a doctored up photo, but I want to show you what happens when I do my cleanup process. You haven't seen this one, Kerriann. Okay, so I have this spirit guide, Melissa, and I was actually buying some antique Middle Eastern stuff off eBay, some antique stuff, bangles and stuff. So Melissa came through, and this was the original unedited photo, and this is my cleaned up version. The J
That's
always,
amazing.
yes, and you could see, all right, I did fill it in, but you could see all the elements are here. Here's a mouth. Okay,
Right.
finger.
But again, this is your interpretation. This is artwork. This is not something that we would use as evidence.
That's right.
for
This
the
would
book.
be, that's right.
Yeah.
You would have to, this would be the original photo here, right,
Mhm.
and not edited. But you can see, again, all the anatomical structure. You know, I try to draw a face freehand that looks like E.T. the alien or something,
Right.
you know, but Sigourney Weaver would be proud. But I mean, they use anatomical, look at the eyelids and everything.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful one.
Isn't that a nice one? Okay, now, Kerriann, you weren't involved with this, but when Marina passed in Huntington Bay at the Rhinelander Mansion, Rick Statler had asked me and the daughters to come up there and walk around while he did the memorial. So we went through the house and we did a clearing for the spirit of the girl that was there, the one who we think committed suicide. And when I got home, I had taken some spirit photos. I was amazed to find this little tiny iconic figure of a minister. Looks like he's holding a book, a Bible or something. It looked like Rick.
And what did you photograph? What was the object?
The original object was a bottle. It was one of
Okay.
my decanter, and this is an unedited photo.
Okay.
It was really, really small. But
Mhm.
so you can see he's here. He's looking this way.
Mhm.
He's holding something here. He's dressed in a garb. So what do you think? Is that, you see his ear, his
Yeah.
face? And it
That's
really
amazing.
it actually looked to me, it looked like him when he was walking around the house doing the blessing.
Right.
So, and of course, you know, we have the one that of the monk that I think is maybe Padre Pio, that, because I took that photo, we don't have it here tonight, but I took that photo in 2009,
Mhm.
about the same time you started writing the medal,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But that was interesting. Let's see if I have anything else. Okay, Frida Kahlo.
Oh, this is one of my favorite ones.
Yeah,
That's a good
well,
one.
yeah, so, okay, so Frida Kahlo, for those of you who know Frida Kahlo, she's a famous, very famous artist from Mexico. She had a very tragic life. She was involved in a bus accident when she was younger. It basically crippled her. She was bedridden for a lot of her life, and she started painting self-portraits. One thing also, she wasn't able anymore to have kids because of her injuries. So she used to befriend a lot of animals, including monkeys and deer and all kinds of animals. So she did a lot of portraits where she had birds, animals, monkeys with her. So first of all, I'm going to show you a text message Frida gave me.
And how did this come about, though, Joe? I mean, what was your connection with her?
Well, I've always liked her as an artist, and at the time I was doing some research. I was interested in her artwork, particularly. I liked the style of it, and there were some other things. I started finding things about Frida Kahlo started appearing to me, like friends would bring me some material they got on eBay, like, oh, look, I thought you'd like this Frida Kahlo tapestry or something. It was things like that.
Right.
Then when I met George Lugo, he told me that his daughter, before Frida was ever known as an artist, she had gone all around the Southwest and had purchased a lot of Frida's original paintings.
Oh, interesting. And
Yeah.
George, by the way, he's another medium down in
Yes.
Florida that we
So
know.
that's what was going on during this time. So I became more and more interested in Frida. So then I said, Frida, I tried saying, you know, channeling her. I said, Frida, would you come through? So I got this text message, Frida, from her.
Oh, now I see it.
Yeah, right. It's a
Yeah.
little blurry. This is the unedited photo, and it's a little close
Right.
up, but
Okay.
so it's not perfect because again, it's a spirit photo, but it's
Right.
definitely Frida.
But you have a painting. I thought this was supposed to be it. Oh, okay, this is the one. Yes.
Now, you haven't seen the full. You haven't seen the full one. This is the full painting.
Mhm.
Now, this is doctored up, which I don't consider doctoring. It's not Photoshop, but it's cleared up. But it is doctored up. I could show you the original. You'll still see her. The reason I did this rendition, I brought it out. I really cleared it as much as possible because when I saw this, I started seeing monkeys all around her.
Yeah, I see them.
Right. And I said, gee, Frida and monkeys, is that true? And I went on Google. Sure enough, she has a portrait of Frida with monkeys.
Even above her head.
Right here.
You can see. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the organ grinder monkey.
Right.
Right here. Here's his
and
face.
That's the face. Yeah. And
Here's
then there's
the
one
chin.
down there, obviously.
Right.
And then
Here's
one there. Yep.
Right here. Here's his eyes. And he looks like he's licking her a little bit or something. I don't know, but he's smiling.
Right.
He's got one of those monkeys. He has, I think what they call him. He's got the stripe, the white stripe. Here's another one up here. See this one up here? The little rhesus monkey up here.
A little bit. That one's harder to see, I think.
There's the eyes. So just a little fainter. So that's kind of cool. So, and she's got the unibrow eyebrows here. She's very dramatic. Yeah, I didn't have a chance to show you the original photo, but you could see it in the original.
And this was a glass of vase, you said? Okay.
Yeah, you see this here, this reddish. That's actually the edge of the glass. That's where the bottle ends.
Okay.
Oh, here, right here. So, okay, let's see if I
And
can.
how close up do you take these photos, Joe?
It depends. That's a very good point. Because,
Like, do you blow them up, or are they farther away and then you blow them up, or do you take them like very close like this?
Well, most of the bottles here, I've got this water bottle here. Most of the bottles are about maybe twice the size and width of this. So I take them from maybe 5 or 6 feet, depending. Sometimes the spirits urge me to move back. Sometimes they want me to go real close up. But generally, these pictures are very small. So if you look at the whole bottle, a square bottle, like a vinegar bottle or oil, olive oil bottle, one side of it, it might be a tiny photo.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And then I just want to show you that they do spell my name a lot. And they also call my name out in EVPs. I have a lot of, especially ghost box recordings. They hi Joe, which will play when the new book comes out.
Right.
But this is one here. Now this is my copy of this here. So it's just, you could see Joe right here, Joe backwards. So that's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that's neat.
So let's see if there's anything else. Okay, and this is one of my favorites. I think you've seen this one. This is the third eye. And this to me is so cool because it illustrates how spirits they work with symbolism, and they can do really fun things to really give us something special. So here, look at this, gold color, very Egyptian. Look at this gigantic eye, this cyclopic eye here, right? But look at this, on each side, there's a letter I and a letter I. See, and it's a capital I, but it's also, they dotted it too. So it's to make sure we know it's an I. It's a capital and lowercase I with an I in the middle, third eye. This is your third eye.
Wow.
So your regular vision, your eyes, and this is your third eye. And look over here. See the penitent woman praying like this? See her?
That one I don't know if I see.
Here's her forehead. Here's her hands.
A little bit.
Yeah, sometimes people see it, sometimes they don't, but here's her hair.
Right.
This is her hairline here, it comes down. So it's just her head, her nose.
Oh, I think I see it now.
There's her
Is
eyebrow.
her face like illuminated?
It's illuminated. It's, it's basically, this is her forehead, her eyebrow. It's a profile of her face. And her nose, and then it disappears behind her hand, which is like this. So. And she's praying. So basically, it's just a meditative type of an imagery.
So again, a lot of this, Joe, is your interpretation. Again, your artistic ability, combining it with photographing and your mediumship and connecting with the spirit. So that's why, I thought this was an interesting topic tonight, because we covered some of the ones that are, what we do during an investigation, plus how you've used your knowledge of the spirit world and your knowledge of mediumship to create these beautiful paintings. And I remember when you had an exhibit and see them all in a group in your portfolio and everything. It was really amazing to see where it came from.
Yeah, and we were talking about, and I'll say the word for you, is pareidolia.
Oh, yes.
Or matrixing.
Right.
So I do use that, the idea that spirits, basically there's several aspects of that: time and place, atmospheric conditions, the position of me standing with my camera, when I photograph, when I take the picture, and the theme. I once asked the spirits, I said, I'd like to see a fashion show sometime. And I took a series of photos with my camera at a bottle, and I got a bunch of faint images of a woman with different facial expressions, like she was modeling: pouty, happy, smiling, sad, angry. It was like a vignette of photos, and each photo was a little different. The face was a little different. The mouth was a little different. So I really enjoy doing this work, and it's just great. And again, I have a lot of photos that are really just unedited, and they're beautiful, and they're book ready. So maybe one day I'll put together a book or something.
Yeah, I know, that would be good.
A coffee table book.
There you go.
So I have a video I'm going to play for everybody, treat everybody to some photos. It has a little music. Is that okay to do that now, Kerriann?
Sure. And then
anything or wrap up?
We'll do that first, and then I have a couple of announcements, and then we'll get to questions.
Okay, great. Let me get that queued up. It'll just take me a minute. Let's see. Do you want to do the spiritual opera one or the south of the border one?
I'll let you decide, Jeff.
I'll do now, and I'm going to point out as we go. I'm going to point out ones that I've really made into art, and ones that are really raw photos. Okay, let me just get it ready. And by the way, this piece of music is, I think, from Verdi Opera. It's a piece of music very hard to find. If you remember the movie Pretty Woman, at the last scene when he rescues her.
Oh yes. Okay.
Okay, this is that piece of music, which is just, I love that music. We just close PowerPoint, and let me see if I can get this shared. I think this is it. Let's see if it works. Oh, wait a minute. I have to add the sound. Let's see. Okay, that's good. Okay, can you see this? Can you see the
I see the
media
screen.
player? Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
I'm glad we did this topic because
Yeah, it was
when
fun.
you said that you wanted to take the lead on this one, and again, I'm very familiar with a lot of these paintings because you've shown me. So I thought it was neat, the combination of,
Yeah, it was a nice
you
light,
know,
kind of have a fun.
investigative work versus artwork.
See,
and-
you thought you thought you were going to see these ghouls with these creepy eyes and zombie faces and stuff. No, it's the spirit world is beautiful. It's they got so much beautiful stuff to share with us.
Yes.
So I just want to summarize. So I think the purpose, the reason they make this connection with me, and it could be with anybody. I've done spirit photography workshops with other people where they've gotten photos too. It's just a way for them to bring some really beautiful stuff to show people because that's what they love to do.
Right.
I do have a few like Frida Kahlo. I also have a couple other artists that I kind of wonder if they just want to keep doing art and they're saying, hey, Joe, can you share some of my latest paintings in heaven, you know? So who knows?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's great. Well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
that presentation, Joe, and I hope you've all enjoyed it. A couple of quick announcements. Next Wednesday, we're going to do a webinar from my original Ghosts of Long Island book on Sweet Hollow Road. It's more of a legends and myths type thing, but people
That's a
love
creepy
it.
place.
So yeah, so
I'm
we
scared.
figured we'd put that one in. You know, we'll have a couple of photos here and there to show you on that one. So that'll be for next week, and then we're planning the ones for February. So we're going to continue this way for a while until things get back to normal. In the meantime, I did decide to keep free shipping on my website for the books. I started selling the books through my website directly once this whole pandemic started. So you can purchase copies of Historic Haunts of Long Island, Historic Crimes of Long Island, my novel, The Metal, which is based on a true story and having to do with the St. Padre Pio. And I also have a new children's book that was written by Rachel Kempster Barry, and she adapted through my publisher, my Historic Haunts of Long Island book. So it's a middle grade nonfiction book for middle grade readers. And she took, I think it was maybe 16 of my 30 stories, and it's great. So I'm selling all of those. And if you do decide to purchase them, there's a space that you could write in who you want it personalized to, and I will sign and personalize and get it out to you, you know, within a day or two. And again, I'm offering free shipping on that. So we want to thank you all for coming tonight. And at this point, we could, I guess, open it up for some questions. Let me see what we have. Okay. How much do you need to zoom to see images? So would this be for the artwork or for just general investigative work? I'm assuming you're talking about the artwork. So Joe,
yeah, are you in a yeah? Let me
Yeah.
open up the chat. What, is
Okay,
that the chat
it's
room?
about the artwork. Yeah.
It's
So,
about the artwork. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You know, it actually, it just depends. I've sometimes have moved back 10 or 15 or 20 feet because, and this gets into the provability of it. You may not see it if you get too close. You may not see it if you get too far. So it really does use matrixing to create the image. So they kind of tell me where to stand. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll go in the room, I'll have the bottle there at the mirrored surface, and I'll just move around, and suddenly I'll feel like, okay, go this way or go that way. I would say generally, I'd say maybe 5 to 6 feet, 7 feet would be the distance. The bottles, again, the decanters, I've used mirrors, I've used window panes. You can use anything. You can use trees and leaves. You can use sunlight reflecting through into a water, you know, a lake or a pond. So okay. That's a good question.
All right, here we have from Michael. Where was the picture taken in Lenox, Massachusetts? Trying to think of if it was Housatonic Street and the corner of Housatonic and Walker Street, I'm thinking. That house in that picture was actually a restaurant at one point. And at the time I took the photo, it was a private home. But my husband and I always thought that they were ghosts in that restaurant when we were there. And but I think it's on the corner of Walker and Housatonic. I can't be positive. I haven't been there in a little while. All right. So another question for Joe. How do you edit the photo to see the image?
Okay, that's a good question. I have four classes of photos: unedited, slightly cleaned up like you would with an EPP or ghost box recording, heavily edited, and then channeled art, which is just where I completely go off with it somewhere and it becomes something else. So when I try to stay with the minimal amount of editing, what I usually do is I isolate what I see, my interpretations, Kerriann says, and then I go in and I brighten it up, and then I crop it, and then I use Photoshop to slowly, meticulously, like you're cleaning an old archival scroll that you got out of the Dead Sea, which, you think about it, they're brushing off the sand and the dirt and the grime. That's what I do. I do it very meticulously. I try not to alter anything, not to add anything to the photo. And that's the key thing, because people have seen my work, not just the crazy artistic ones that go like completely something different, but the ones that are really look like the original photo as much as possible. They say that, they tell me don't mess with it because it's like perfect. It's anatomically correct, the face, the colors. And as soon as you mess with it, it changes it. So I really try to minimally touch it in Photoshop, just a little contrast. Maybe I'll go through, if I see that the spirit tried to draw a leg and the kneecap is missing, I'll zoom in and brighten up that part, see if there's a kneecap there, and then I'll just bring that out, brighten that up, contrast that out. So that's what I do. It's a very archival type of thing. It's like a cleanup process. Good
and
question.
then for the next, if we do one on this topic again, they would like to see more before and after photos. I mean, you did show several of them, you know, the untouched plus the touched.
I guess
it's
good
maybe
to
from
see
the
the
different
original.
angles. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
okay. So we will definitely do that.
That's a good idea.
Joe, what draws you to take the picture? Is another question.
Well, that's a good question. I think initially it was curiosity, because Kerriann and I, you know, I'm doing the ghost investigation stuff. I just love doing this, and I want spirits around as much as possible. I want to talk to them, and later it become more artistic, more like, wow, what's the next artwork that you're going to show me that you can give me to share with people? And that's when I started getting I like Henry Matisse. I got an image from Henry Matisse, a self-portrait, which I found on Google, the same exact photo that they drew for me on the bottle. It's same hairline, the goatee, the eyes, everything. And they, on the spirit photo, there's a little M, which is his monogram for Matisse. And to the left of him was a white silhouette figure of a woman stretching, like getting up in the morning, stretching her arms and legs. And I didn't know that he did these white and black silhouette cardboard cutouts of human figures, but that was right next to him. So again,
Wow.
they're identified.
Interesting.
So I think, yeah, so I think it's because I'm an artist, I want to bring these artists through, hopefully give them a venue to show the world something beautiful. And I have some art shows where I'm going to be putting my artwork in this month. So I'll get that up on my website.
Excellent. And then another question that's sort of piggyback off of this one. Is there a particular thing that draws you to take the photos here? Like
So-
like for instance, I guess maybe the picture of the dog at the table that
Oh, yes,
that
yeah.
caught
Oh.
your eye. Like, are there certain things that,
I
guess
yes.
because the ones with the bottles that you just set out, right, to photograph the bottles and see what you get. But then other times, like in the image with the dog,
Mhm.
you actually see something or the girl in the window and you say, let me photograph. So if you
That's
could
right,
sort
yes.
of explain
Especially
that a little bit.
the cemetery, the Quaker cemetery photo of the Civil War soldier. Yeah, something tells me, or the one that we can't talk about, that'll be the next book in the tree. Yeah, something draws me to it and says, okay, it's time to take a picture. They want me to see something. It's funny. You'll see photographers, they'll shoot hundreds of photos. That'll like they're doing a model shoot or something, or a commercial shoot, right? I'll take one photo and get a spirit. I tried doing 100 photos in a row. I don't get anything because the spirits say, Joe, take the photo now. And that's it. And that's a medium mystic aspect of it, I think. So when you put the mediumship with the photography, I think that what makes it more effective.
Okay. What do we have here? Okay. This is from Amelia, who I have to point out. I hope she doesn't mind. This is my first grade teacher. I was so happy to see you on the list here, Mrs. Bear. This is a different type of question. She writes, have you ever done any automatic writing? I have not. I've had certain visions when I write certain things related to my work, and I write down what I see, but I haven't had automatic writing as how it's defined. And with Joe, you really haven't had, have you had any of that?
Well, no, not much on the writing. I've tried it in the past, in the 80s, mid 80s, I was playing around with automatic writing, but I do automatic painting. And people, we talk about bringing the art out, because I don't have any training in drawing skills or anything. And I'll just be doodling on one of these photos, and all of a sudden it'll come out with this beautiful artwork or picture. So I really do think that when I think about drawing, it goes all over the place. But if I just let my hand go by itself, so I think it's more automatic painting than writing, but it's kind of the same idea.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is not really related to our talk tonight, but this is from Fran. She just has wanted to ask us our opinion on an experience she had that she remembers as a child. She said, when I was a child, I woke in bed during the night and saw a vision of Jesus, beautiful blue eyes in front of my bed. I was so scared, I thought I was going to die. I found myself losing control of my left hand, shaking. I did not even think it was me, but Jesus coming after me. What do you think? So as many paranormal experiences that I've had a lot of religious experiences as well. And especially the fact that you were a child here, I could imagine, if you see Jesus, you think like you're dying, he's coming for you in that way, for anyone, a child or an adult. But I think in this case, maybe if you look back onto what any circumstances or things that were going on, that maybe there was something painful in your life, or someone was ill, or maybe you had certain worries as a child. And it's probably more of that he was coming to comfort you in whatever situation
I agree.
You were in at the time. But that's an amazing story. And thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, France, that is a beautiful story. And it's interesting. I think that people always ask us, how long have you, how long have you been doing this kind of work, or you've been tuned in or anything? And I think for Kerriann and I, we've probably been since we were kids. We just didn't acknowledge it or journal it.
Because there are things now that I remember that I'm like, wait, that was different,
Yeah, like the time
we were in training.
You're in training, that's right. And so, and there's a lot going on when you're growing up. You're interested in other things too.
Right, exactly. So,
great
I hope you enjoy this. This is a very different topic for us tonight. Something, we figured that we'd do some things from our, the books, and then some things that were just interesting topics. And I hope you all enjoyed this one, and I hope you will join us again next week. This will be next Wednesday, again at 7:30 for Sweet Hollow Road, which was in the original Ghost of Long Island book. And as long as you guys like this, we'll keep going. We have two more questions here.
Sure.
Fran says, after that, I would see his image in the yard and angels in my room. Thank you very much for answering the question, Fran. So that's amazing. I mean, I would take that as all good things. We have someone, Joe. We have someone wants you to explain the diagram behind you.
Oh God, I know. I put that up just. What I was going to do was I was thinking I would stand up and use the whiteboard to show how the spirits basically throw their energy into a device, and then I drew a little TV set and I said, that's it, I give up. But yeah, thanks for noticing that. I know Kerriann's got this beautiful Zoom library background. She looks like she's in this. I look like I'm in some laboratories, some
funny.
Science lab somewhere.
So
but yeah, no, basically the idea is that it's all about energy. They can't write a Post-it note. So what they do is they project energy into light waves, okay, and they interrupt the light waves, and that's how they form these images. And it's so cool. I mean, when my dad had passed, that weekend of his birthday in May, several years ago, I took some photos of my, my laboratory experiment photos with the decanters and the mirrors and stuff. And he spelled dad. I got dad, D-A-D, capital letters, on one of my glass bottles. And I just thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. I also heard him. He actually heard his voice in the hall announcing the mail had arrived.
Wow. And that's something that we talked about, those kind of things on our spirit communication. By the way, some of you have emailed me if you had any problems getting on, for technical reasons on your end in past webinars and you missed them. I am going to be getting eventually, I'm hoping next month, our past webinars up on a YouTube channel. So if you follow my newsletter, you can get to that by going onto my website, KerriannFlanaganBrosky.com, sign up for the newsletter. You'll also get updates on, when we have the webinars and things like that. And my website is also connected with Joe's. You could look in here at UVPs. So we have interaction. So you could explore both of our websites, but you can get to Joe's website through mine. But, so that's something, if you miss the spirit communication one, we're hoping to have that up in a couple of weeks. Won't be live, obviously, but, more to come. And we have a message here from Angela saying, thank you, very entertaining and great art, Joe. So I hope, Joe, if you do have an exhibit, Angela, that you will share it with us and I could post it and people can come and see your show when we're back live in the world.
Angela, yeah, just to say, Angela, thank you again for joining us. And I did I left you a message. I don't know if you got it, but I did leave you a message tonight to reach out to me on your question.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
And we hope to see you next week for Sweet Hollow Road. All right.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm going to
we'll see what kind of picture Joe has behind him next week.
Well, I'm going to show him that one of the coins.
Okay.
The perfect alignment. That one's a cool photo.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Good night, everyone.
Take care. Bye.